Why is it so valuable? Again, use the information from the textbook. I want to see it brought back to me. Okay, and also, you are expected to apply your business knowledge to all the assignments that I give to you. Okay, so let's say, by the way, if you're not working in the business world, then use your consumer experience. So either your own business experience or your consumer experience, because again, we're taking the approach of marketing research methodologies in this class. So the consumer experience is great. I mean, if you don't work in the business world, that's fine. What have you experienced as a person out there buying things? And then apply good writing. I thought the writing was pretty good. Again, it was not, I would not say super sophisticated the first week. I did not see, again, a lot of terminology or concepts being used. So I think we all could up the game a little bit there. I think that would be helpful. Again, you're expected to go out and find additional sources when you are given an assignment to add some heft to your assignment. Okay? Always apply APA. And again, the forum grading approach, again, I'm looking for sources. And I'm looking for, again, going out and finding additional sources to supplement your what you're saying in the forum. Okay? So I think just adding more to what you're doing would be great. Okay, any questions? Okay, all right, good. Okay, so we're going to get right down to it and do an application because, again, we had to be out of here by 7:25. What I want to do is get you right into the secondary research. So who in our class would like to tell me what is secondary research? It's existing research, yes, and I might borrow some research that your company has done, okay? So secondary research does not mean it's secondary in importance. It could be the best research. It could have been a $100,000 research study, but it was done by another organization, okay? And we're going to use it because it applies to what we're doing as an organization. Okay, so secondary means it's not research that you personally conducted. If you personally, as an organization, conduct the research, let's say we're going to put together a focus group for Utica College, then that is what we call primary research. Okay, so the difference between secondary and primary is just simply secondary exists, and primary means it's something that you create yourself. Okay? What do you think the advantages of using secondary research are? What do you think?
I mean, it's a lot cheaper.
Super cheaper if it already exists, and you know it's out there. And if it's on a website, download it. It's free.
Yeah, and really quick too, I guess.
Right, and it's quick. If it already exists, we don't have to go through all the laborious steps of actually going through all the protocols and procedures, and then wait for the researchers to crunch the numbers and everything. So yes, it's very inexpensive. It's quick. Anything else?
I mean, sometimes it's done with people who have a lot more resources than you, so you're a smaller organization or something like that.
Yeah, and usually the national associate, let's say if you're a nonprofit, let's say you're the area local Red Cross, the national office would probably be doing the research and then passing it on to the smaller offices. You're absolutely right. And then if you're a big million corporation, then of course you probably have research built in. Yes.
I have a question about the, one of the students pulled up the assignment and said that she sees 2 questions, but she thought there were 3 additional questions.
Oh, okay, if there's 2, okay, 2, my mistake then, 2 additional questions. I just want to make sure everyone goes to the bottom of the page. Yeah, thank you for correcting me. 2 additional questions, okay. But anyway, so yeah, you're absolutely right. The one drawback, though, of secondary research is what? Lulu, what do you think?
Out of date.
Out of date, yes. What else could be a possible drawback? Beyond out of date, it might, what? We don't know the quality sometimes, okay? You know, we've had to make sure that they actually went through a lot of protocols. Yes.
It could be unreliable.
Yes, unreliable. So again, we wanted to make sure that they followed the procedures that they should have for their, you'd want to do a little bit of investigation. And sometimes the other drawback to secondary is that it may not quite fit the problem that you're researching. Last week we spent a lot of time talking about identifying the problem. To start any research, you got to know what the problem is, what is the question you want an answer to. So that is very important, but man, the benefits are tremendous here. And really, I would say everyone out there in the business world should be very familiar with secondary research at the very least, okay? And like I've said in the last class, research in and of itself is not difficult to do. It is all, you know, it's not rocket science or anything. It just says, you know, you just have to go through you have to follow the rules, the guidelines in it. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do tonight is we're going to get into, do you think we'll be able to do, do you know how many we have online? Do we have enough to do 5 groups? Okay, good. What we're going to do is we're going to split up into our Hangouts again, and what we want to do is we're going to, I love coffee, so we're going to do some research about coffee. Joe's Coffee, wants to start his own business, and he is considering a small coffee shop. Conduct secondary research is, you know, if you were Joe, what would be some of the key questions you need answers to? Search term strategy. How do you evaluate the information? Carmen, you were just talking about that, and someone else was talking about the reliability issue. So, real quick, what might be some of the key issues if you were thinking about getting into the coffee business? What might you be thinking about? What kind of information you need?
The trend of the coffee, like what do they like as far as flavor?
Okay, consumer preferences for coffee, right?
Right.
Okay, because you could be that person that loves hot coffee, but other people love cold coffee. Some people love the flavors. I know we're getting into pumpkin season, so everything's pumpkin. Okay, so that's a great question. Preferences, consumer preferences. What might be another thing? Competition, absolutely. What is the competition? In fact, I just saw something recently. They were talking about, it's not the in-home competition. What was it? It was some other competition they were coming from. I can't remember now, but it wasn't in-home competition. You know how you have your Keurig machine and, you know, the fancy coffee equipment. Yes, Tracy.
Ariel says the design of your business logo to attract customers or the theme of your business.
The theme. So actual how to put together that business is very important, and I agree. I think last week we were talking about the Wendy's CEO and how they had the re-imaging of all of their restaurants, and that was like the look of the, you know, how did it look? Okay, any other ideas? I'm sorry, what?
Like the drive-through, like.
Yes, that would be a consumer preference, you know, like for services, but the physical plant and all the, you know, the considerations. I would say, yeah, you got to have a drive-through, definitely. Yes. Anything else?
I was going to say relating to Lulu is kind of like brand loyalty. If you come into a market where people are really loyal to a brand.
Yes, I mean the competition is going to be huge. Yeah, you got to know what you're up against, and I would say also consumption is going to be a biggie because, you know, are millennials drinking? Yeah, I know they are, but you know, older people, who's doing the consuming?
Dan says you also need to research startup costs.
Yes. Okay, so there should be some research about how to start a business, a coffee business. And I know there are articles out there about how to start a coffee business. So yes, great. And then the search term terminology. Just be aware that when you're doing search terms in these databases, they're going to ask you for coffee, and then there's going to be that Boolean term and then, you know, competition, coffee and cost, coffee and consumption. So, you know, you have to make sure that you're putting together terms and try different things. It really, I will say that database searching truly is an art form. And I'd say always just keep working at it, try different terms. When you see an article, oh, maybe that's the term I should be using, and you might get a lot better results. So always keep trying different terms to see if you get different things. And then how do you evaluate information? If it goes through very rigorous protocols, for example, most research studies have an abstract. Then they have an introduction, a literature review where they include summaries of all the important studies that relate to the topic. Then there's a section on methodology, how did they collect the data? And then after that, there's a section on findings or the results. And that's where you get into the data that's been collected and then the analysis of it. So the analysis becomes the discussion or the findings. And then conclusion. So and then usually there's a full list, a reference of all the sources for the research study. So if you see that, then you know you're probably, you know, if they're being very open about how they conducted the research, then you can be pretty sure you got a great study and information. And if it's from a reputable organization, and that would mean, you know, national associations, not, you know, Tracy's, you know, research shop or whatever, right?
I do have research shop.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. Okay, again, just as a reminder, never pay for research as a student. You never pay for downloads. You always do an interlibrary loan request. Our UC library is fantastic with interlibrary requests. They usually come to you within a couple of days. You'll get an email with a link that will take you directly to the full study. So they're fantastic, very fast, and very reliable. So if you're ever in a class and you see an article, a study that looks perfect for what you're doing, definitely go to the library. You know, just send through. It's an electronic form. Just say, you know, request this study, and they are just fantastic to work with. So let's see. What we have is, and I'm not sure how we're going to break people out, but let me at least, I have this. Yep. Okay, if you want to bring that up, we can talk about this. And what it is I've got the UC databases coming up. This is the assignment that we're going to be working on. And just to go through the directions, we're just going to try to find as many articles as we can using the UC databases. And so if you have, you know, if everyone at home has their, or if you're at work still, you want to get online and start looking for stuff. For group 1, we want to see if you can find anything on coffee consumption trends in the United States. Okay, and coffee health, group 2, there's been a lot of studies about the health effects of coffee. So you could try coffee health trends or studies, anything like that. And group 3, coffee product trends. They're constantly coming out with new ways and different types of coffee products. I just actually was up in Toronto a few weeks ago, and I had a thing called, at this Asian fusion restaurant a thing called cotton candy coffee. And it was so cool. They came out with this very delicate ball of cotton candy, white ball of cotton candy with a clear glass coffee mug. And then they gave you two bottles, one with coffee and one with hot cream. And so you put this beautiful, really delicate ball of cotton candy in this clear mug, pour the coffee over it, and then as much cream as you want. And you would think it would have been like super sweet, but it was so delicate. They just slightly sweetened the coffee. And it was just like a really cool experience, you know, it was like fun to do. So they're always coming up with new things. So what kind of product trends are out there? You know, I think, you know, cold coffee is really becoming big. And then business tips, we were talking about that. And then also there's a big thing about sustainability and the green aspects of your business. So coffee is working a lot with, you know, the farmers in outside countries and the sustainability of everything they do in the process of coffee production. So that might be something that we can find some articles on. Now we have a lot of databases. If you go to, can we get to the Utica College database page? Because I think this will be really helpful for you all to see the Utica College Library database. Notice, I think we're right there. Yeah, it took us right to it. As you see, the first thing you're going to find are the WorldCat, right there. Thank you, Tracy. And that really will take you to all the libraries in the world, basically. Okay, so most libraries have books. They have book magazines, things of that nature, not research, okay? So if you're looking for an e-book about coffee, you're going to find it there. Just put in coffee and health trends or whatever, and you'll find something. But it will only probably be books for the most part that you're going to find there. But not necessarily. You can try that. But it's a great place to start your search. But the other thing is when you get down to the Find a Database by Category, the Business and Econ section is where all the business-related databases are. So I put some of them on this page, Business Source Complete, Business Insights Essentials, API Inform Complete, LexisNexis. LexisNexis is an interesting one because it really takes you to all the newspapers in the world, okay? So if you want anything that's in English, you know, or it could be any language, but primarily, you know, I'll start off with the English language newspapers and all other publications as well. But anyway, that's a great place if you want to see what are some of the trendier things going on. So if you got the coffee trends, LexisNexis is probably the place to start off your search. And then, like I said, there's other databases here too. So any questions? I think we're like, let's see, what are we doing time-wise here? 6:42. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our groups. And then a quarter after, we'll come back and do quick reporting out. So find what you think are the best articles, studies, and again, try to avoid just doing a Google search. And I say that not because Google is a bad thing. Google gives you fantastic sources too. But we're really trying to get you comfortable with doing the actual databases for the research studies. Is anyone in here unfamiliar with the term peer-reviewed? Is anybody unfamiliar with that? Should I give you a quick explanation? Peer-reviewed means that it's a research study that has been reviewed by experts before it gets into publication. So if you get the option to click on peer review only articles, that will definitely bring up research studies. So peer review is really good if you're looking for research and highly vetted, fact-checked type of information, very trustworthy. Okay? Okay, so Tracy and I are going to put you into your groups in just a minute, so just give us a second and we'll get started.
I actually numbered them like Matt did last week already.
Oh, okay.
We have a couple groups, before and a couple groups.
So before, okay. Okay, great. Okay.
So I don't know if that works. I tried to make sure that each present person.
Okay. All right, we'll have 4 groups then. So you'll all be going into a group alone tonight, unfortunately, because it's a little light on people here.
So, Miguel, you are group 2.
Okay.
Lulu, you are group 4. Carmen, you are group 5. Okay, and then I'll just type the groups too.
Okay. And Carmen, have you ever been here to get into an online, into one of these study rooms?
Yes.
Okay.
For the computer.
Yes, and you go to the Hangout. Okay. You
Oh,
have,
no. I never
Okay.
been to any class online. I only take the class.
Okay. All right. All right.
I can help you in one
Yeah.
second.
Yeah. We'll get you set up. Okay. Okay.
I do have one student who I'm not quite, I asked if he could send me his full name, he has not yet, so
Okay.
he goes by Tony on here. I don't know who he is on here.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Anybody know Tony?
I know Tony.
What's his last name? Do you know?
Wayne, G-N-Y-U.
NYU
Oh,
something.
Union?
Okay.
Yeah, NYU.
We have pretty much. Okay.
It's usually typical, you go like 2 goes through.
Yeah, we go into the little breakout room.
Okay.
That way you'll be able to talk to all your
Alright.
buddies.
I haven't done a class.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Really glad.
I'm
Yeah.
very glad to be here.
I think, it is, I think it's fun to have, people to interact with, so.
And I have been more to be in the classroom.
Yeah.
But online, I was studying local, I have children, so in my break time.
Yeah, it's hard. I know it's very hard. But it's really great to have people here because you usually are less inhibited, to ask a question, or I can see like, okay, maybe I'm not explaining this as well. So it's always good to have people here to interact with.
Almost some of these groups. So I don't know if the 3 of you want to go into a breakout room or in just a moment.
We'll get y'all set up here.
In just a moment.
We'll get y'all set up here.
Do we have to do everything or?
No, you'll come back to the classroom.
Okay.
No one's here this late at night except us.
Hey, Tracy, do you have a key?
I don't know what that.
Hey, thank you very much.
Hold on one second.
What?
What's the matter, beautiful boy?
I don't know what you're doing.
There's Daddy.
Oh, babe, get us pajamas. I put them in the
All this time you spent doing this one. The problem is, this watch is full of,
Okay, for those who are listening,
it's full of, storage. So by the time I empty them out,
Okay, so is Group 1 available to report on data you found for secondary data for coffee consumption?
Hi, we're here.
Okay, so what did you find out about coffee consumption in the United States?
Well, we found that iced coffee consumption is on the rise. 77% over the age of 18 are consuming coffee, and kids are starting to consume coffee at a much earlier age. Millennials starting at about 14.7 years of age. Wow,
that is early.
Yes.
Okay, very good. What databases were you using?
We used the Utica College database, and then Theodora found one, and I'm not sure what the other one was. I don't know if anybody can type in.
Okay, do you know what the name of the database was that you were using?
I didn't find it. I just reported out. We were reading them as we went. I had trouble getting on, so by the time I got on, they were already pulled up.
Okay,
Hi.
all right.
Hi.
Okay.
We used the National Coffee Association.
Okay, so was that what you found just doing a Google search then?
No, we mixed. So when we went to the Utica database, we found some, but then most of it was comparing consumption and diseases. So we had to go, so then we moved on to the Google and used both database and Google.
Okay, all right. Any questions about comfort level of using the databases for your assignment this week? Do you think you'll be okay?
Hopefully.
Okay. What I would really encourage is if you're not getting the results that you want, just keep trying different terms. So, when we're dealing with the application assignment this week, women, fans, and sports, sports and fandom. Just keep working the terms and seeing if it gives you something different. And once you find an article that really focuses on your topic area, then read it and look for additional terms that you can use to aid your search, because the terms are going to be key to use in the databases. I can't stress that enough. So again, be aware that searching usually takes a while with different types of terms. And then if you find a article that is dead on a study, look at the back at the reference section to see if there might be additional articles that are similar to your topic. So again, I want to make sure that when you get to this week's big assignment on finding things in the database, that you'll be able to do it. Okay. All right. Group 2. Do we have a group 2? Okay, Nick.
So we were looking at health trends, obviously. I think some stuff on the trends of health is harder to find, but there is a lot of stuff on actually the health effects and nutritional stuff of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So one's from Harvard's Department of Public Health. Found that coffee consumption can lower an individual's overall cancer risk. So that was one. That was from LexisNexis. Another one from LexisNexis actually is an article that highlights the results from a study conducted by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. This one found...
Now, LexisNexis is great for the most recent, well, obviously you can go back as far as you want, but yeah, that's a really good database. To start a search in for anything, use LexisNexis as your first one. That, to me, is because it gets you to the newspaper coverage. Not that that's peer-reviewed or those aren't academic studies, but it's going to get you some good information.
Yeah.
Because it's authoritative sources, the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Associated Press, highly reputable sources of trusted information. And they're usually reporting on research. So
right, that's what a lot of these ones were.
Yeah.
And this one again found that, this one found that those with higher coffee consumption levels were least at risk for traditional causes of death.
Yeah, I heard that one. That's a more recent one, and I think there's one about lowering diabetes, too.
Yeah, and there's another one from
That's amazing
the,
what they're finding out.
from the American Journal of Cardiology that saw either a neutral or a beneficial effect on cardiovascular health.
Now, here's one thing just to insert here on whenever studies are making claims, one of the things you always want to be careful about as research people knowledgeable about research is who is funding the study. Is it Folgers? Is it, Chaka, whatever it is, coffee? I mean, a lot of companies will try to fund research. So just make sure that, when you're actually looking at secondary research, one of the things you want to really look at is who funded it. Was it independent, or did they declare, yes, we had coffee funding, but they had nothing to do with the actual research? Is there a separation, that sort of thing? Okay, anything else?
Most
so
of
it's
it,
lots and lots,
yeah,
right?
most of it is similar to that, like lowered effective coronary heart disease, but yeah, mostly similar to that kind of stuff
So
we found.
drink coffee.
Yeah, I need to start, I guess.
Okay. Okay, do we have a group 3 on coffee product trends? Do we have a group 3?
Yes. Yep.
What'd you find out?
We found some of the trends are seasonal flavors, gourmet blends, office coffee service, instant coffee, and iced coffee. And I did my research from the Business Source Complete, and I think there was some in our group. We're looking at some of the links we saw were LexisNexis, and I'm not sure what else others were using.
Okay, but were you able to find, everyone was able to find stuff?
Yes.
In your group? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Those sound like, it's interesting. I have a 22-year-old daughter, and she is actually using instant coffee, which kind of blows my mind, but it's like this nice instant coffee, and she does it because she's always in such a rush to get out the door that she doesn't have time to brew up a pot of coffee or anything. She's like doing the instant, which I thought, oh, that's interesting that a millennial would be using instant coffee. Okay, so great. It'd be interesting to know who could actually consume all that stuff. But okay, and how about group 4? Lulu.
Yeah, business tips. Well, I think you have to understand everything you list here, like consumption, health news, whatever. Also, I think when you first start up the business, you need to limit your SKU. You don't want to launch like all the flavor at once and nobody gonna buy them.
Right.
And which like you don't want to overstock stuff and then you lose money at the end. And also I think you should promote multiple sales. You cannot just sell coffee at first. You're not gonna make enough sales for coffee to pay all your bills. You might want to sell something else like muffins, cookies to go with coffee. And then also you have to keep your serve the finest coffee, and then use the loyal points, like you said in the first class, loyal points to build out a customer base.
Yeah.
And then employee training is also important, I think, to have good customer service.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what databases was your group using?
Utah College.
Okay. Did you use a particular one?
Yeah, I found an article on there. It's kind of long, the title.
Okay. Well, all right, but you don't know what database you were using?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, remember that when you go to the main page of the Utica Library website, there'll be the business and econ link, and that's where all the main business databases are. Okay, so good tips. Anything else from your group?
I don't know. Anyone want to add?
Anybody else want to add to group 4? Okay. All right, then we're going to move to Carmen and group 5, coffee business sustainability trends.
Yeah, which is just the database. I pretty much just did the general. I didn't put any business in the list. I found a lot of news about the coffee because they say it's organic, but sometimes it's just the name organic, but they still using pesticides. pesticide and things like that.
Right.
So it just because it costs too much to be organic. It takes so much time for the plants to grow, and they don't have the time. Also, I found another article talking about the climate change, how it affects the plantation, and they have to invest a lot of resources and technology, because it takes time also for the plants to grow or get damage the plants, so they have to do something for the business to keep running.
Okay.
My other classmates, they found a lot of articles about talking about South America, because it's where the most popular business about the coffee are, and they want to add something about it. I will appreciate it.
Okay. Does anyone from Carmen's Group 5 want to add anything?
Yes. Saida's going to talk.
Okay. Go ahead, Saida.
Hi. So when we were searching coffee business sustainability, two of the keywords we found was fair trade and eco-labeling. So any coffee that were traded fairly, they'll have an eco-labeling in it. So in general, the fair trade concept came up in the coffee industry because most majority of the coffee was being bought from developing countries. And they wanted, I guess the coffee industry in general wanted to help the poor farmers and the environment, like the land in which the coffee was being harvested from, to help keep it sustainable so they could keep on farming in it and improve the coffee quality in general. And we found in 2015, one of the group members found that sustainable coffee, like a lot more business owners that were selling coffee, it went up 33%, so a lot more people were buying coffee that had eco-labeling and that were sustainably farmed. So in trend-wise with sustainability, more coffee is being bought that are fair traded.
Okay, great. Good information. Okay, very, very good. All right, so again, I think, use those databases, look for studies, and this will help you. Oh, and is there another question?
There is.
Okay, sure.
Regarding the assignment, is there a minimum number of references that you want them to use from each?
No, not necessarily, but I'm looking for research studies. So if you're using LexisNexis and it's talking about a study, I will accept that as well. It's not an academic research paper, but that's fine. But try to get some of those peer-reviewed academic research papers. That ensures that you're actually using the Utica College databases, and that's key to being able to, work on your final projects in this program. So, okay. Yes, and one more? Yes, no problem. Keep on coming.
Should everything be retrieved from the databases online?
Well, unless you have access to a library and you want to go into actual periodic, journals that might be at the library, certainly you can do that. But yes, I would imagine for most people it will be online. But it's not necessary. You can actually go into a library and access journals. Am I answering that question, you think?
I think so.
Okay. Sam, is that your question? They're usually, yes, most of the students are turning in online, so the citation is an online citation, so that's the style you should be probably going for. If you're using an electronic database, it'll be the online citation style. Okay. He probably went back to his picnic or whatever. Right. Cookout. Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and see you next Monday night. Yep. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay.